What's up, guys? It's me, your girl CatCorelli, and this is episode 293 of my Cat Vibes series. Today I'm painting a landscape with a baobab. Apparently, an African landscape. I'm having this ongoing series called Africa, just because I kind of feel like it. And I just like baobabs. I really do. So, as you can see, I'm mostly starting with the sky. I like to start with the sky in a lot of cases, just because it sets up the entire scene and provides a lot of context. And with the sky, specifically, I'm getting thick pretty quick. Whereas, you see those distant mountains that I've kind of sketched up out there. They're really loose and thin. The foreground is pretty thick right off the bat. And it just turned out so that I wasn't able to paint this in one sitting, so it took me like a couple of sessions, something like this, but it's just because I was busy doing other stuff at the same time, so I couldn't just dedicate like 2 hours of time in one sitting to just sit down and do it. So I would paint like, 15 minutes now, 20 minutes then, etc., etc. I have a few ideas about these African series, and I think I will be returning to this African theme, quite often. There's something about these African landscapes that I really like. Here we are, in daylight. And forgive the crappy footage, because I think something was going on with the exposure. And, yeah, well, I had to turn on the lamp, because just with daylight, apparently it wasn't enough. It was either a very sunny day, which kind of flipped the exposure, made it go haywire, or maybe it was an overcast day. As usual, gradually I'm switching over to a thinner brush for more detail. Currently I'm working on a painting called A Guard Turned Cannibal, and this painting, I'm painting this painting because this is the first, it's for the cover art for the first single from the Sunset City album. So it has to do with Africa again. It's a much larger painting. And then I have an idea for another African painting, a big one, a larger one with a huge baobab. I think I'll be getting to that very soon. Very soon. Perhaps it's going to be the next painting. I don't know. I feel like I want to, sometimes I would like to paint little studies, like 10 of them, 12 of them, and then to throw in a larger painting. And then go back to study, large painting, study, larger painting, that kind of thing. Because it just allows me to take a little bit of a break in between. Sometimes painting large feels exhilarating, and other times, after a large painting, I feel like I'm a little tired, and I want something small and relatively simple to paint. You see, for the most part, I painted the whole background and the whole landscape first, and then I just started growing that baobab amidst the composition. And remember last time I was talking about how I like these nylon all media brushes, these cheap brushes. They allow me to do these very thin lines. I'm trying not to get too much into nitty-gritty details here. I kind of have to a certain extent, but I don't want to overdo it. After all, it's a very small painting. So there's absolutely no reason to go too precise with all this. For the most part, I'm trying to capture the scene, the vibe, the atmosphere, the colors. That's what I'm up to here. Originally, I was starting out with a greenier ochre tone for this Savannah. I believe this is Savannah, most likely. And there's still some of it shining through, but now I painted over it substantially. And right now the colors are distorted because of the bright electric light, because the lamp, which kind of makes everything look, I don't know, I don't like it. I probably need to get me an LED lamp, just kind of daylight lamp, and find a way to fasten it somehow over the area where I'm painting in the garage. But it's a garage. You can't really mount anything on top of the ceiling. And God, one of these days, and I believe that one day this will happen, I will have a studio of my own, a real studio. I'll have a music studio, and I will have a artist studio, a painter studio. I will have both. And it's kind of a, perhaps it sounds like a golden dream kind of, in the perfect world, but in the perfect world, I think I'd love to have a condo in Moscow, in my own name, of course. How can one not want a condo in Moscow? But then also, a 2-story condo, or maybe a 2-story small little house, really small, in Nice, France, on the Côte d'Azur. And I would have the first story designated for my music studio, I think. All of it. Small living quarters, really, really small. Nothing large, very, very compact. And the second story would be my painter studio. In the perfect world, that's what I would like to have. Lots of light, large windows, modern design. Actually, a modern architecture. So it could be something like a modern little house with plenty of glass in it, plenty of huge windows, lots of light. Soundproof, isolation, this kind of stuff. Lots of space. I like it when there's plenty of space, and I like to keep things very minimalist in terms of organizing my space. So in the perfect world, that's what I want. And then I can leave and travel, and then return from my travels either to Nice, to Côte d'Azur, or to Moscow, to my Moscow condo. Spend some time there, then move back. Go travel again, return back to France, to the Mediterranean, and then from the Mediterranean, move back to Moscow. And occasionally travel to the United States, maybe. Something like that. And then, of course, travel to Africa. Oh, I want to travel to Africa. God. So here's what I got. Here's this little study with the baobab. Thank you very much for being with me, and you will hear me on the next episode. Ciao.